I mean, like high off of edibles, right?
Or even when we're talking about trying to get it so that it takes away the psychoactive effect so that you can eat like a whole bar and not be fucked for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's brilliant, because that's the one thing that I don't like about edibles is I'll eat one and I can't fucking move for like 6 hours.
Well, he was talking about proper dosage, and that's
Yeah.
where I think that that's a smart idea, by like selling the whole chocolate bar that you can break into 24 tabs,
Yeah.
and then you can control if you want more or less. And
But who
odds
can eat
are-
just one small 1-inch square piece of chocolate?
Yeah,
People
right? Yeah.
want to eat more than that.
a
So
very powerful, very
Willpower.
powerful willpower.
someone who
person.
possesses much willpower, Joel. I guess so.
Absolutely. No, but you could properly like have some, and you can have, if you're a chronic, like some people, then you can have 1 tab an hour, and then you can just have that buzz for the whole day rather than eating all of the chocolates all at
Yeah,
once.
right?
Like,
I mean, have you seen my body? Like, that's not happening.
the dad
happening.
bod without the kid? It's great, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah,
Proud
girls
of it.
love that.
They do, man. Dad bod's the new
They do.
rip-off for
the
2018,
moobs,
man.
The moobs.
Yeah,
The
man.
movies?
Hey, man. If you
Not
can suck on a
happening.
girl's titties in 2018, why can't they suck on yours?
Wow.
No reason.
So what are we here discussing today, Darryl?
I don't know. What are we supposed to discuss?
Yes.
Are we live yet?
I don't know. Are
I
we live?
fucking hope not.
Are we talking?
Oh, shit.
Our tech is not here right now, but on the off chance that we are live,
Yeah, we're going? All right.
Oh, there we go. We were like,
Yeah.
Man, goodness, welcome to the podcast. Eh?
Yeah, no kidding. Hempfest, and you know you're highway.
that's okay. Nobody's watching.
What?
But yeah, so here we are. We're at Hempfest, Hemp Expo, Cannabis and Hemp Expo 2018.
Hey.
It was sponsored by Dabcor. Yes, I'm Joel Carleton from Canadian Chronicle, which is advertised behind us. And who the heck are you guys?
Well, I myself am Matty Neufeld from Prairie Kitchen Catering. We offer local, fresh ingredients, highlighted to the best of their abilities. Also pairing that with perfect wine and drinks, drink pairings, to give yourself the ultimate dining experience.
It's so hard not to look at the camera, right?
Is there a camera?
There's a camera.
No, there is
right?
a
There is
camera
a
over
camera.
there. Cool.
Yeah. My name is Steve Strecker. I'm the owner-operator of Atomic Dinner Rolls, also part of the WTF Hatchery Pop-Up Collective. And I think we're just here to talk about good food and our high stories. I don't know, man.
Our
Yes,
ideas.
indeed.
Our high ideas, yeah.
Ideas, yes. What's a high idea that you had recently?
Idea that, every time I hear ideas, there's a website called Ideas.
Really?
Their top, and it's exactly what you think. Their top post is about a guy that wants to adopt a bunch of people of small stature, raise them as his own in the forest, so that he seems as to be like a god to them because he'll be so much taller.
Okay.
And that's a good idea to me. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, but what's a high idea that you've had recently?
I don't know, man. Like, probably, working on a new menu for tomorrow. We're doing the homespun out of Marion Street Eatery.
Excellent. Yes.
And one of the things that I like to really do with my food is I like to do fusion. So I take a lot of classic recipes, I try and bring it into like a different area, either through techniques, flavor profiles, whatever it is. This particular menu is based around the demographics of Winnipeg. So there's a lot of one demographic being fused with another. A good example of this, I'm doing a take on doubles. Shinny Danny dish, it's, curry chickpeas and fried dough. I'm gonna change that up with a little bit of an East Indian bread. It's called puri. When you fry it, it puffs right up. We're gonna stuff the chickpeas right into there and serve with a little bit of chow, which is like a pineapple slaw. So that was one of my recent ideas.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good.
And yourself, Joel?
Yeah.
What are
me-
some high ideas that you've had recently?
I've got a lot
what
of
have
high
you done
ideas.
last week? All right, let's just shorten this one
last
down.
Week, yeah, last week I was in Toronto.
Okay.
I was attending another cannabis sommelier course,
Wonderful.
which is studies like evaluation and analysis of cannabis samples and quality, like flower product samples, and just evaluates quality and the history of the plant.
Yep.
And seeks to hopefully make recommendations on like the potential psychotropic effects and appeal and appropriateness of that sample for the consumer, which is really cool. So yeah.
Nice. How about yourself, Matty?
What about myself?
Yeah.
What about myself? What do you want to know? What do you want to know?
This guy and his freaking social media, I love it.
Social media, can't stop
He's
it.
on
right?
point.
No, I've been.
You're an idea.
Whenever I do partake, I feel like that is the most creative time that I have, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's just an excuse to go have a couple rips in the garage, sitting on a couch that you no longer own inside the house. But I feel like being in the culinary world and flavors and combinations, it really just sparks that creativeness. And for me, I feel it better when I've had a puff or two. You know, obviously different strains, like you know yourself being a sommelier, are going to give you different properties. So we're all looking for that perfect strain out there.
Yeah.
But I feel
That's branding
aren't
right
we
there.
all,
That's
right?
Yeah.
But I feel that whenever I am doing menu work, or for an example, I have a catering coming up on November 18th that's entitled Food Humor, right? So that's combining different jokes and puns and nursery rhymes with food and creating a menu off of that. So using that, you always think of different jokes, different things that are going to make you giggle and just make people smile out there, and you think that they're going to smile with them. So for an example, I was thinking about my lime thyme rhyme. It's my palate cleanser course coming up for this food humor. And what I'd like to do is make a lime meringue, just about, you know, an inch long, half an inch thick, and then inside make a lime jelly. So when you combine it, it's a sublime. It's a sublime bite of food, right?
This is perfect.
See, there you go. So
Wow.
the creativity and
Slow
the
clap
ideas,
away,
they are they are
dude.
endless, right?
That's next level.
I know, right? It's beautiful.
I've never seen a pastry chef spend all their time on one dish just for a punchline. But I mean, you could do that if you want.
See,
you
it's
could.
it's the combination of food and humor that are going to make people smile, and that I feel is my destiny out there,
because
right?
it might not be the food itself. So you gotta have an angle.
The jokes really cover up the bad food.
Listen, the food is just all right.
I
At
hope
least
it's
the
going to turn
joke
out.
is great.
No, but when you think about it flavor-wise, lime and lemon and thyme all go together. Lemon and lime, both citrus. They should ultimately meld into a cohesive dish.
I mean-
it just so happens that they rhyme.
Correct me if I'm wrong though, but isn't that a classic pairing when it comes to mixology as well? Like you're a professional bartender, or
Yeah, technically. Yeah.
technically.
I had to
Don't
Google the word
always
professional
smoke and
Yeah.
drink, kids.
when I heard that, but
Yeah, all the
don't
bad
smoke
habits
and
at
drink.
one table, eh?
responsible.
All the bad habits.
Let's throw it all out
Yeah.
there right now while we have it.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, of course, those are flavor pairings. And I mean, anybody that's curious about flavor pairings can buy the Flavor Bible on Amazon, or they can also find it at local bookstores. Of course, you guys are aware the Flavor Bible is an incredible compendium, a tome of flavor pairings and combinations. I mean, citrus has lots of pairings. The meringue, the lime meringue, if you're doing like that egg, sugar meringue, egg white sugar meringue would make sense again with like lime or lemon. Just like a lemon, like a whiskey sour is lemon and egg white and sugar, and then whiskey. So too would a meringue pair nicely with lime and lemon.
It's, like I said, especially in the culinary scene, like the possibilities are endless. The ingredients that are out there and the gain for knowledge is tremendous. It's overwhelming for some, but I feel like it's a lifelong journey, something that I've dedicated myself to. That knowledge is power, and if I'm the proper French terminology is being a gourmand, and that's a connoisseur.
You just look that up
of
on your
food
phone.
and wine.
Gourmand
You can
was
do
the original
anything on your
French
phone,
food.
right? Exactly. It's
Before Instagram was used to take pictures of food, there were gourmands.
They're a gourmand.
Gourmand.
Seriously, Google must just think we're all ridiculous because of the amount of times we use it for spell check, right?
Okay, their idea. We're talking ourselves, right?
That's a
Classic
portmanteau.
example, kids.
Well, how do you guys feel about the future of not just food and beverage generally, but like specifically cooking? The way that cooks are, like the culinary scene, what individuals can do in the industry as a cook. How do you think all that is going to change with cannabis legalization in Canada?
There's definitely going to be a lot.
Very interesting question.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've already kind of seen this trend start up in the last couple of years of people getting away from the big like commercial kitchens and a lot of small mom and pop shops. I think we're going to see a lot more of those coming out that will strictly focus in on using cannabis as an ingredient. Maybe not for its effect that it gives you, but just for its flavor profile, right? Like, it is quite herby, and you can get so many different strains that have notes of things that are recognizable. And I think they're going to stick away from, the classic baking and start going more into full dinners and meals.
But how is that going to affect the employability of that sector, of that like labor sector? Like, do you think that like if there's going to be more jobs? Are there going to be different jobs? Is there a role for a cannabis chef? Like, is that a thing?
Yeah, I totally think that there's going to be a surge of new jobs coming out to this because there's going to be people that used to cook with it for many years before legalization, and now have all these recipes and want to start up their own business. I'm not saying it was legal, but you know.
Yeah, well,
Those mavericks of the world,
irrespective of that.
Yeah.
When you say that you can use cannabis in a cooking capacity to apply a flavor to a dish, like, haven't we always been doing this with hemp seed, or is it different? Like, with hemp products.
So it's like when you have an edible flower, right? If you go and you taste the petal versus the stem of the flower versus the pollen, each one has its own unique flavor to it, and it's all from the same plant, right? The same idea is when it comes to hemp and cannabis. I mean, depending on what you use from that plant will give you a different flavor profile. I mean, you can use the leaves, use them as like a nice edible salad, but you wouldn't want to use this straight bud, right?
Have you guys ever blended cannabis fan leaves into like a smoothie? I've heard like the flavonoids and stuff that are in there, the vitamins, is a pretty like wicked deal. I saw that on Instagram, on the Trichome Institute's Instagram. They were doing like a demo.
It, you know? And speaking of hemp and, you know, being at Hemp Fest, you know, cannabis is the product, the bud that's going to get you high, but hemp is the brother that doesn't have. You know,
I mean, cannabis is the overall
THC.
Gene spectrum, but yeah, like. There's like the non-psychoactive hemp, which is industrial fibers, textiles, etc. Yeah.
So for that, using, you know, in cooking that we've been doing for a while, you know, hemp is a huge market right now with hemp seeds, hemp hearts, the flour, the oil. There's so many different byproducts from this one plant. And as well, years ago when it was legal, you know, people used it for textiles and really made clothes out of it, made fabrics. And it was very industrial plant, you know, empires are built off of it. And then, you know, throughout history, that all changed. But now we're on a different note of history to where it's legal again, but with great power comes great responsibility. So for it to be used in the culinary scene, I feel that, you know, hemp is still a wonderful flavor. The seeds, I love toasting them, I love smoking them, because there's another joke, right? But really, as is, and infusing the different buds, the different strains, getting the THC into the consumer through edibles. Once again, that takes a lot of responsibility from the chef and the person preparing it, and how it should be seen in the industry is similar to alcohol as we're treating it right now, you know? If you go for one hoot, you know, I don't think that would be the end of the world.
Yeah.
However, if you go for one beer, I don't think that would be the end of the world. Although in some establishments, they have different rules and policies against that, you know? There's, as chefs, we like to taste, right? So that's going to definitely blur some lines. I'm not saying go to work high, you know, don't promote that. Don't say go to work drunk, don't promote that.
It helps, though.
Well,
it really does help.
Not when you love what you do. You keep it going, right?
But you raise a good point. I mean, if we look at how regulation is around cannabis right now, you can't smoke it in public unless you have a prescription.
Yeah.
You can't go out to a restaurant right now and eat it, right? So I think
that's going to impact it.
So going back to your question, I think what we're going to see is the rise of a lot of specialty clubs. We're going to see private clubs where you have to have a membership, where there on their grounds you'll be able to smoke it. And I don't think it'll be public access. It'll be very exclusive. So I think we'll see a rise of a lot of that. Because even with regulation, there's people that are going to find ways around it, right? And I think that's probably where the biggest change in the sector will come from. We'll start seeing less. We won't see a Moxie, so it'll be like, hey, come in and try our cannabis bruschetta, right? Yeah. But we will see a pop-up, I don't know, games club or a sports club that will also offer strains of cannabis along with their wine or liquor or whatever else they're serving.
Well, with it first becoming legal, as it is now, that's the first step we really have to understanding all of its different properties and really breaking it down to what strains will do what and what kind of effects will this have on the consumer. So this is just the first step on the ladder for more research to get to those answers, right? And I think maybe a couple of years down the road, then we will see this happen, right? We thought there was going to be flying boards in 2018. Instead, we're legalizing pot, so you know what? We're slow at it, but
so there's flying boards in 2018 then.
All sorts of stuff flying around. That's true. What kind of 101 tips do you have for persons that are buying their legal recreational cannabis and going home and they want to cook with it? What kind of tips or advice would you have for them?
Steven Strecker.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Floor recognizes Steven Strecker.
So, whenever you're buying your bud, you have to get that THC out somehow. Some fat is needed, be it steeping it in the cream, making the butter, doing it in some kind of oil. I'm not very well versed in it. Typically what I do is I have a buddy that makes me white hash, and I'll use the white hash as a substitute for my butters or my oils. And I'll use that like I would any other fat. So if I'm making biscuits or if I'm making sauces or whatever it is, I'm adding that in with more butter. So I guess my best advice you can do if you are brave enough to go and try and do it, find a good ratio for it. Don't just try and freeball it. It won't work out in your favor. You'll just waste your bud. If you try it or you don't feel like you can actually succeed in doing it, find somebody that knows how to do it. I mean, this Hemp Fest, I'm willing to bet that you can throw a stone and hit like 4 people that know how to do it for you and give you a better deal on what you're looking for what you're trying to do. Especially when it comes to dosage too, right? Like, I can't control dosage. I have no idea how they control the dosage. I can only imagine that you go home, you make your butter, you make like a nice pasta sauce, and all of a sudden you're down for 3 days, right?
Well, I was just talking to the owner of Puffco Chocolates, Ryan, and he was talking about the crystallization in cooking with cannabis is very similar to different sugars and chocolate. And for him, he makes chocolates that you can properly dose. 24 portions in one whole bar, so the consumer understands portion control, and it makes it able to start slower and gradually progress to a level that you feel comfortable with, right? I think that's a genius idea, and it's a very responsible way to do it as well. He looks at the scientific way of breaking it down, which I find fascinating, and it seems like he's doing a really good job of it. He's definitely at the start of it. I wouldn't say that his stuff was necessarily legal right now, but that's his battle and that's what he's working towards, right? So you never know what we're going to happen in the future. As long as we have people that are crusading for what they believe in, then I think nothing's impossible.
Yeah.
That sounded
Cool,
really good, eh?
Love it. Yeah, that was a great soundbite.
Strong.
Oh, that was deep.
That was deep.
Yeah, well,
First I've ever heard
I mean,
that.
at the end of the day, nobody really knows what our new legalized landscape in Canada will look like, the cannabis landscape. We know that Canadians like cannabis. We know that they want, they have lots of questions about cannabis, and you can bet your boots that they're going to be cooking it at home, and playing with it, making brownies, whatever it is, making the oils, putting them on their salad, all sorts of things.
I hope they do.
Well, and I just hope that they do their proper research, because there's so many things that people just need to study and get just information for themselves, so they can make their best own informed decisions. I also hope the medical community catches up with all this and is able to make proper recommendations to persons that have questions about cannabis, because ultimately the healthcare providers are the ones that should be giving this information. But I mean, yeah, only time will tell.
It's true. It's true. Take some time.
Yeah. Well,
so sad about it. What's up, man?
I don't know.
A lot of time. I want it now.
They want it now. They want
luckily,
it now.
I'm very patient.
So how do you feel about infusing different cocktails with
Well,
cannabis?
there's no reason to really mix alcohol and cannabis.
No, absolutely not.
If I was going to do just a virgin cocktail with cannabis, I think that's fine.
Cannabis
The thing
cocktails.
is that it's very difficult to do because, like Steven said, you need to have a fat-soluble, solvent-based medium to dissolve off the medicine into. So unless, I'm doing a demo in a bit, we're going to be doing an iced coffee. I think you guys tried that at one of the pop-ups at Weeds.
No, I don't remember. No.
Oh, right. Sorry, you were never there. Anyways, the point is that, I'm making that. Well, it's not infused. It's just a regular iced coffee. But the point is that coffee is one of the few drinks that you can get heavy cream into, and it doesn't seem out of place. You can't just make a freaking paralyzer, endlessly, or God knows what else, involves cream, tea and coffee-based sub-drinks. I don't know.
It's so true. You're limited to your coffee, your hot chocolates, your
Milkshakes.
Pina colada,
milkshake. Anything that has a cream base, right?
Pineapple.
Yeah. Of course.
It's just silly, though. Yeah.
Although,
That's the problem for home applications. That's why people use vodka and rum and bourbon and stuff and make those infused, bourbons and then make cocktails out of it and get super
Green
whacked.
Dragon? Is that what it's called?
Well, no, because that would be a decoction. It would be a super, a tincture. It'd be very concentrated. But there's other applications that I've read. There's books you can read on the subject where persons do infusions. They just take the flower and they put it into a bottle of bourbon, and they make an infused bourbon and then make a cocktail or a drink or whatever out of that. And I mean, I don't know. The books seem to have like pretty solid recipes.
Have you sampled any of these before?
Well, no, I haven't. I've got a book that I'm still reading, honestly.
Don't try this at home, kids.
But definitely don't do this at home, for God's sakes. I don't know. I mean, like, is there something to it? Yeah, I don't know, maybe. But at the end of the day, like, the books that write about this admit that all it does is increase your chemical delivery, and so your ability to like feel high or drunk or whatever, it's just like vastly accelerated. To me, it's like, what's the point? If you can only have like a freaking half a cocktail and then you're whacked for the next 2 hours, like, why? What's the point?
It's a difference between are you drinking for
very high
pleasure,
emotions
or are you
about this,
drinking
Hazel.
to get drunk, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's that whole concept. And if you're drinking to get drunk, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion.
If I'm going
However,
to,
I'm afraid the market would disagree with you, Stephen. The reason why bars are in business right now is because people want to get fucking wasted, and they want to drink a shitload. And the reason why Shims, which is low alcohol beverages, isn't popular, I would love to open a bar that was just like sherry cocktails. Well, guess what? I'll run myself out of business. People want to get shit-faced. They want to drink a lot, and your business model presupposes that you can sell as much liquor as possible to achieve higher gross check averages or whatever per person, per consumer. Although I agree that, like, it's not good for you.
So it's the money versus morals. Because
Well,
if you
isn't
think
that business?
it is business 100%, right? But I don't think that people want to do that at home. If they want to go get absolutely mangled,
Yeah.
do that in a safer environment.
Truly, the market isn't out there, because that's what, when people go out to drink, they're going out to get drunk. You're right. It's for the people that want to go home after a long day, make themselves an infused cocktail, so they can just have that nice rush,
Forgettable
right after,
life, I guess.
relax down, do what they want to do for the night, and not, get just absolutely sloshed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just turn your brain off for the rest of the night having one of these cocktails.
Throw on the
eh?
Netflix,
And you know
The
what?
reality is that is the philosophical conundrum in the food and beverage
Interesting.
alcohol
That's a big
scene,
line.
is the concept of why are we serving people alcohol when it is poisonous? Why are we enabling them to have a self-destructive lifestyle? Oh, except wait, hold on. We need to sell as much of this stuff as possible because that's like business success. Really, like the entire thing is like kind of cursed in a way. And I mean, Christ, I'm a restaurant and bar consultant, and I'm saying this, but it's the truth. And you see this across the board, the way in which consumer behaviors have changed, and persons have started to purchase less alcohol. There's more and more concerns surrounding things like DUI, drinking during a pregnancy. These things are stigmatized very aggressively, and rightfully so, because they're dangerous. And these behaviors are, the awareness of these behaviors is reducing people's drinking habits, and this is happening across the board. Is what's the future of the food and beverage alcohol industry? I don't know. I mean, we're chefs and bartenders sitting on the table right now. We're hashing this out.
We're the ones that are in control, because if we are the ones running the food and beverage within Winnipeg, we ultimately have a say. And we are the ones researching what kind of community we are feeding, because in turn, our guests are our clients, and those are the ones paying for anything that we want in this life, right? So that's where we have to take care of them. And, if they don't want to be responsible and have 10 of these infused cocktails, you know what? That's up to them, because we are not them. They have to be responsible adults and make their own decisions. Yeah. And that's where the rules come in.
And then, in the same time, who are we to go and tell people what they can and can't do as a legal adult, right? Like, if you want to get sloshed, get sloshed. If you don't, that's also fine.
It's up to the consumer to make their educated decision.
The best we can do is try and educate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as long as we're keeping up on that end, I think that we're doing a good thing.
Yeah, so I mean, our next pop-up, we just shouldn't do like the soup course being just a glass of scotch, right?
Some loudmouth soup right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't vote against it, right? Well, that's what's it for my pop-up. I'm having the drink pairing, so I'm having Domer from the Manitoba Club and the Baltic Brothers that are doing infused cocktails. Now, not the THC infused, but different local herbs. That they infuse to different combinations and make their own cocktail in a bag. So they're the ones
Cocktail in a bag?
Cocktail in a bag. All it is, just add vodka, right?
Wait, you telling me you're better than like wine from a box or something?
Hey, it's actually a bag in a box.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So they're doing the cocktails for me. Now,
smart.
So that's 7 courses. That's 7 cocktails, right? The problem with that is people can get sloshed, so it's up to me, the producer, to give a reasonable amount, and remember that it is for the taste and for the pure enjoyment of flavor, which is why we do what we do, and have a responsible amount.
Yeah. Well, and how do you find the balance between offering the pairing when there's also still an open bar going on, right? Not open bar as in it's open to the house. Like, you can still buy extra drinks at your event. So how do you balance that? Like smaller sizes for your choruses. You're not giving full.
Well, what's
drink
interesting
sizes,
is in Europe, what they're doing is they're bringing breathalyzers into restaurants, and I think that that's a genius idea to really avoid any sort of liabilities for the restaurants, and ultimately for the safety of the consumer. Because after a couple of cocktails, I know that I don't have pure vision.
My willpower shit.
My willpower shit. My judgment goes out the window, so I become Superman, right?
I mean, obviously they're Joel.
So at this point, they're bringing in breathalyzers, and not to judge any of their clients, but really just to make sure that they get home safe.
Well,
and that would be, we're on the brink of doing this for THC, but bringing those into our pop-ups in our restaurants, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think that would be a great idea.
And I completely agree with you. I think, we have to change how people view breathalyzers in general. When people see it, they think, I'm screwed, right? Or they're judging me or something. When really, we're just trying to look out for each other, which is what it should be at the end of the day, right? Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that's a great idea. Whereabouts in Europe are they doing that?
I know that there's a few restaurants in Italy. I was out there training, say, about 2-3 years ago.
Nice.
And there was a restaurant, Del Pescatore, a 3 Michelin star in between Bologna and Milan.
Name drops.
All over the place, dropping bombs. Anyways, this 3-star service, the wife was the chef and the husband was the sommelier, and they were breathalyzing people once they left, just to make sure that everything was clear, they weren't over any limits, and they want to continue to make sure that they have a fantastic evening. They just ate at a 3 Michelin star restaurant. It's an experience of a lifetime as is. If a cop came over or, God forbid, an accident happened, that would just be horrendous. So really, they're covering themselves.
Well, exactly.
And it's better safe than sorry.
As restaurateurs and chefs, we never want to go and get somebody sick with their food. We never want to get them so intoxicated they have a car accident. At the end of the day, we want to just serve you a good experience. We don't want you to have that experience turned into something foul, right?
Well, we have a responsible service of alcohol. You have to take a test right before you be any kind of bartender or a server.
Do you think that there's going to be tests like that, like the serving it safe test? That's what you're talking about here. Yeah. So do you think there's going to be a serving it safe variation once if cannabis becomes...
There already is.
There already is?
Yeah, it's the same licensing body, the LGCA, that offers it. Presently, it's not publicly available. I know this because I correspond with them directly and I ask them all these questions. So it's not publicly available yet, but the way that it works is it's in-class training as opposed to the Alcohol Smart Serve, which is like an online course. Eventually, it may be like that, but for now, what they're doing is they're doing only in-house training with their inspectors. The inspectors are the ones teaching the courses. The inspectors themselves have taken online courses and some, education in cannabis. But they're the same inspectors across the board that do all the compliance for alcohol and gaming as well. And it's only offered, this course, the Cannabis Smart Serve is what it's called, I think. It's only offered to dispensary staff. So it's kind of like a reverse model where it's not just anybody can take it and then you go and apply for a bar job because you have your Alcohol Smart Serve. In this way, you get your employment, then you follow through to doing the in-house training with the LGCA. And again, I think it's just via your boss at your dispensary. I really don't know how that works.
I just walked into my first dispensary yesterday, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Which one did you go
pretty
to?
Fancy. I went to Meta on Peppermint and Granthar.
Cool.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was pretty interesting. It's very chic, very trendy,
they do
jewelry store-ish, very bright,
Apple, like the Apple Store.
Yeah,
they do very
exactly,
bright concepts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As a business model, I think that's very
it's smart.
Very smart.
Move. Yeah, well, because you want to be really clean and crisp and,
I was there for educational purposes only,
right?
Obviously.
Well groomed. Exactly.
Yeah, you're selling medicine, right? So if you had somebody that's selling you in a nice sterile facility versus somebody that's selling you in something that looks like a dingy head shop, it's
Christ, I've seen doctors' offices that you couldn't prepare food in them. They're so dirty, like basic clinics where you just do checkups.
Crazy.
By the way, our next pop-up is called Doctors and Diners. We'll be doing it over. No, I'm kidding. It's a bad joke. Carry on.
Put them.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, what else is new? What else is happening around town, guys?
Well,
What's new and hot and happening?
Let me pick your brain now, Mr. Weed Sommelier. So obviously there's sativas and indicas and the hybrids in the middle. Sure. What are some fantastic strains that you really feel the psychoactive properties going? You know, like when I went to the dispensary, they asked me what would I like, what style would I like, and what effects. So I just said that I want to be happy. Who doesn't want to be happy, right? I eat all the cookies. I just want happy weed, right?
Yeah.
And it was really difficult for them to try to find some. They had a lot of CBDs that were really relaxing. They had some THCs that were, I'd say, in the middle of the range.
Well, and what's happy for one person might not be happy for another one. Like, happy for one person might be, I want to just relax. I want to take all the stress off my shoulder. Another person might be, I want to be able to wake up a bit more and be able to go and have the giggles and laugh for a bit. Like, I want to spend my night playing video games or whatnot. Like, happy is very vague. Right?
Happy is very vague.
But I get what you mean, right? Like, you don't want something that's going to kick your ass.
Well, ultimately, I think that's why people smoke weed, because they want to be happy, right? Yeah. Of course, there's for pain problems. And PTSD. There's a wide variety of why people should smoke weed, right? Yeah. For me, it's just I want to be happy. I want to have the giggles. I want to smile, right? Yeah. Hungry, happy, and sleepy. I've heard, is usually the three topics of.
So how about that? We're looking for something that's happy, or hungry, happy, and sleepy. What would you pick?
Yeah.
Well, but it's a very difficult question, Matty, to answer, because of course the real issue here is that everybody's personal body is different. We have these things in our bodies, these networks of receptors that are called the endocannabinoid system, which means it's inside you, and it's your cannabis system inside you that interacts with all of these chemicals and compounds and phytochemicals that are produced by cannabis. And we actually produce some of those similar compounds in our body naturally. It's just part of what our body does. You're producing cannabinoids right now in your body right now. And it's just like part of your the body, the checks and balances.
And do joke here.
The regulators, that allows you to like whatever, like your homeostatic balance in your body. So then that endocannabinoid system is what's interacting with those receptors are interacting with THC and the CBD and all these like there's tons
all of them are different.
Yeah. So what works for one person might not work for the next person. And I think that's the most important thing is that people can't really like there is no short answer in cannabis. Anytime somebody asks a question, it has a long answer. It's a lot of work. So yeah. I mean, you go into an LP. What's my best this or that? It's like not exactly an easy question to answer. So one of my favorite strains is the blueberry strains.
The blueberry strains.
I just love
them. Sorry to cut you off there. I forgot my point.
Way to go.
Well, hey, I love blueberries. You took me off there. So these endocannabinoids, everybody
endocannabinoids in our bodies reacts to the cannabinoids in marijuana.
But as you say that it was a difficult question to answer. Wouldn't that be in my uneducated opinion, wouldn't that be your job though?
My job is actually to just tell you what I just told you, that it is to achieve that, and that you have to judge individual person differently and separately and relatively based on that individual situation.
What are some good methods to do some research on different strains?
Do your reading, research stuff that is like peer-reviewed academic journal articles, PubMed and other really good websites on actual scientific data and research, following new media groups Chronicle that actually release articles by healthcare professionals, CBD, things like that are a lot better than just letting up a spliff on your couch and asking for advice, right? The problem is that for decades during prohibition of marijuana, we have had a struggle in accessing proper information. Holy shit! It's Jeff Penn. Jeff, how's it going? It's going to be getting a lot better in a minute, folks. So what do you have in there, Jeff?
Let's show the camera.
I'm sure it's totally delicious.
Mangoes to the moon.
We're looking here at a delicious snack. That's all I'm gonna say.
A delicious snack.
Oh, it's a whole bunch of tiny.
Let's give me your sommelier feedback. What are you experiencing? What are you experiencing right now?
Heaven in my mouth. Heaven in my mouth.
Heaven in your mouth.
Heaven.
I have a tongue. I have a tongue. He has heaven right now.
Let's go.
I have so much. I have so much.
Let's go.
after this.
It's gooey. It's gooey.
Ooey gooey. Ooey gooey. Yeah? Yeah?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Where'd you receive this? Where'd you receive this?
It's funny. I feel like. Ooh.
It's not bad. It's not bad. The problem with edibles is that kind of
right over there. Right over there.
You know, it's like organic. And fair trade product versus
I see it. I see it.
So back with organic, they have the same problem. They try to go and hit way too many ideas, right? Same things happening with cannabis. They want to be ultra healthy. And it doesn't taste quite right. But like organic, eventually they are going to get. You'll have some really good product coming out. Because I agree. I've had some stuff.
It's not very good.
It tastes chalky. It tastes bitter. It tastes bitter.
There definitely is that weed flavor there.
Yeah.
If you taste normal chocolate,
how do you cover that?
How do you cover that?
How do you? Is it just chocolate and other big flavors, or like what's the solution?
You know what?
Type of weed that you're using, the type of infusion.
Truthfully, it's all just about blending your flavors, right? Like you have to find that balance. If something's coming off really bitter, you have to counteract that with spicy or right? If it's coming off sour or herby, you have to go and find how you can go and counteract that with your other ingredients. So like when we cooked for allegedly cooked for one of the Alan's infused dinners, I did a pea soup.
Speak for yourself. So tell about this pea soup.
I encapsulated this pea soup in the bubble with calcium lactate. They have really bitter flavors. And butter that I had was quite sweet, but not sweet enough to counteract that. So what I had to do was caramelize onions I thought I would need. Blitz that with
say caramelize slower.
Well, yeah, you get those.
Say it slower. Say it slower.
Caramelize those.
Oh, yeah.
Hot.
Okay, keep going.
Dab of butter.
Dab.
I like it when the onions sweat.
So no, I know exactly. So yeah.
Don't break eye contact.
Why would you look at me? No, I know exactly what you mean. As a chef, you look at flavors, look at what you're dealing with. Do you feel like a lot of as a sommelier, a lot of different strains have different flavors?
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down. Like
Afghani is like more like hay and lighter on the aroma. It's not as pungent. That's like the Afghanistan region, I guess, was where that land came from. Then you have the Hindu Kush Valley produce like a lot of more shorter, bushier indicas, and those have dark, more purple, blue leaves, and then that has like a fruity pine kind of thing going on. Then you look into the hazes, and that has like sativa hazes have way more of like a lemon can sugar thing, citrus thing. Really exciting.
Wow.
There is definitely like a typical variation in flavors and aromas and like flavonoids and whatever that are expressed by those plants. Because of course the genetic spectrum is vast and is broad. Now, having had said that, you totally say that at the end of the day, it's super like genetic and strain based and whatever. And blue dream over here is the same there. It's the same there. It's the same down the street.
It's like any terroir, right? Yeah, it's like any product. You can have one carrot, have another carrot, they're going to taste completely different.
24 karat magic. Coming up on November 18th at Marion Street Eatery.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of carrots. I hope you like. And I'll be there making a carrot cocktail. Carrot juice.
It's very terroir driven. Though I did not know that.
Cannabis is incredibly terroir driven.
So
I want to
finish strong here.
Yeah, well, anything blueberry based, like Winnie the Blue is a really cool, locally produced strain. OG is like a broadleaf marijuana kind of leaning from the west coast, Acadian West Coast, all of those strains like wedding and animal cookies and girl cookies, these are incredible because they're so flavorful.
Always bugged me, especially when that movie came out. Pineapple Express. Okay. So when that movie came out, I was talking to my dealers. All of a sudden they have pineapple-based. How does particular strain get? Who decides that? Where's it come from? Which I'm pointing at you, sommelier.
Just Gorilla.
Those names. Those names come out of nowhere. They are made. Whoever does the genetic work, research are like Jorge Cervantes growing. I don't know if he does genetics specifically. He's a really great grower, and then DJ Short. He's not like a musical DJ. That's like abbreviation for his last name or Short or whatever. DJ Short's got a research. So he developed blueberry in the Amsterdam coffee shop scene, and that was a very popular strain. These guys, what they do is guys and gals, whoever the heck does this genetic work, they just choose a name. It's usually like blue cheese is a blend of UK blueberry, right? So blueberry, that makes sense.
The purist, I'd say.
Makes sense.
What can you tell me about White Widow?
Not a whole lot. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's tricky. How do they get their names? Well, I guess what's in a name? What's in a name? You know, what's in a name? Like Shakespeare said it best. What's in a name? What's in a name? You gotta judge the cannabis based on the sample, and the potential that it has, based on the structure, and the clues that you can see. Tell you about the history of the plant, not based on strain. We can't judge it because that could really mean.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. What's in the name? Look at Trichome Institute did a study in California where they went to a bunch of different dispensaries and they bought the same strain, Blue Dream, at like six. They came home with 6 different samples. They were all labeled Blue Dream with varying THC, different color, different flavor, different smell. None of them were blue. I mean, because the point is that mislabeling happens all the time. And I mean, I can't any of this, but you're welcome to look at the videos yourself. The reality is even in the recreational market in Canada, we're probably seeing mislabeling. It's nobody's fault. Shit just happens. We're all building a brand new industry. But don't put a lot of stock in the strain or the name. But it is a good place to start at least.
Okay, well that was a very good explanation.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Indeed. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here.
Of course. Yes. Thank you. It's funny. We came here to talk about WTF. I don't think we mentioned.
Oh, right.
Who are we?
2 minutes. Go.
All right. So WTF, food-based show. Me and Steven take some of our friendliest food personalities throughout town. Go sample some of our best offerings. Steve?
Yeah, that's essentially it. So people series that we've started off, hosted by Matty Neufeld, my Strecker. We two guests on food dining experience. We're actually going to be starting up shortly. The Toasty Tours, I believe it's called, where we're going to have a little bit of fun prior to doing these. You guys can actually take part in. Follow us on Instagram at Where's the Food Winnipeg. And hashtag, what's our hashtag? Where's the food?
WTF, WPG.
There you go.
Thank you very much. We're going to finish strong here.
Incredible.
Guys.
Thank you. Take care, y'all. Have a good one. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Of course, yes.